I knew something was off the second I walked into that icebox of a conference room. No heat, no coffee. Just Ross already sitting there, flipping through a thin manila folder like he had better places to be. His smug little half smile didn't even flinch when I walked in. "Jenna, thanks for coming in early," he said, like I'd had a choice. "Let's keep this short." 12 years. That's how long I'd worked at Keystone Auto Group. Built their online parts and service operation from the ground up. Literally coded the first scheduler on a used laptop I bought off Craigslist. And now I was getting booted before 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, in a glass-box office that still smelled like new leather and off-brand cologne. Ross had been there 6 weeks, hired straight out of some consulting firm in Chicago, wore loafers without socks, the kind of guy who always brought up efficiency, but never picked up his own lunch order. He didn't look up when he said it. "We're restructuring. The leadership team has identified manual inefficiencies in your department that don't align with our forward-facing tech stack." That was it. No handshake, no warning, no offer to transition anything. Just that line, straight from a slide deck he probably recycled from his last gig. I didn't ask questions. I didn't cry. I didn't give him the satisfaction. I stood up. My badge was still clipped to my coat. I walked out, let the glass door shut behind me, and headed for the exit. The badge reader blinked red when I swiped it. Didn't even beep, locked out before I hit the parking lot. 12 years of building their entire digital backbone, and I was nothing but a swipe that didn't register. Quick note, before we go on, tell us where you're watching from today. By noon, I was home. My apartment still looked like a dealership giveaway bin exploded. Old Keystone mugs, lanyards, leftover hoodies from regional campaigns. I had a break-for-value mousepad under a plant I kept forgetting to water. I poured a glass of wine, sat down on the couch, and pulled out an old laptop from under the TV stand. The hinge creaked like a sore joint. Still had the cracked vinyl KAG Dev sticker across the lid. I booted it up, buried deep, under folders named with inside jokes and temp patches. I found what I was looking for. The interface was plain, ugly even. No one outside my team ever saw it. Most forgot it existed, but it still worked, and it still routed everything. I logged in. No alert went out, no security flag tripped, no one noticed a thing. Just a blinking terminal, a heartbeat of silent control, and me, watching it, smiling for the first time all day. I sat cross-legged on the couch, wine glass balanced on a service manual, watching the old interface breathe to life. The logs were quiet, no real traffic, but the bones were still there. It felt like opening a fallout shelter and finding the air clean. Back when Keystone was first franchising into Arizona and New Mexico, they had no online tools. You wanted to book an oil change? You called. Maybe left a voicemail. Maybe someone called back. Half the time, a tech scribbled your name on a clipboard between tire rotations. That mess gave me my shot. I stayed late every night with a busted Chromebook and 2 cans of Monster, hacking together a service scheduler in PHP. Duct-taped scripts, hard-coded hours, janky timeouts. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. It fed directly into the order pipeline and inventory tracker I built later. One by one, the stores started using it. Then came the upgrades. They brought in fancy SaaS platforms with sales teams and glossy dashboards. Digital retail experience, they called it. But those front-end layers, they just skimmed the surface. The back-end still hit my endpoints, my routing logic, my timestamp logic. Nobody ever replaced it because nobody understood it. And I didn't exactly offer a user manual. The company grew, the tech stack got flashier, but the core, still mine. Ross never asked about the back end when he came in. He pushed hard for a full SaaS replatform, held meetings, shared decks, quoted Gartner reports like scripture. But when it came time to pull the trigger, nobody could untangle the guts. There were 0 docs. I never made them. Not out of spite, I just never had time. Or maybe I liked knowing no one else could drive the thing, and now it was all still wired in. All the SaaS systems just forwarded requests right through me. I leaned in, cracked my knuckles, and pulled open the routing config. My naming conventions were old school, short, sharp, brutal. I found the entry that mapped marketing campaigns to service tiers. Legacy, promo keyword routing, live pass-through. Below that, a dusty array of keyword triggers most untouched for years. I typed Oil Change Deluxe, or SVC Deluxe Promo. That was the new campaign. I'd seen the email blast before I got canned. Ross's big rollout, bold font, shiny coupons, some intern designed banner ad with fake oil splatter. I didn't push it live. Not yet. I just saved the config and sat back as the console lit up. Ping, ping, ping. Scheduled jobs started flowing in. Appointments booked from franchise landing pages, trickling through the modern stack, then down to the original pipeline. Mine. Every one of them hit my legacy scheduler before triggering fulfillment. I watched the job queue tick higher, all tagged Oil Change Deluxe, all routed right through a system no one had touched in years, except me. Nobody ever thought to kill it, because they never knew it was still alive. There was no alert, no firewall warning. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't even hidden. It just sat there, running clean in plain sight, behind layers of junk software, fancy skins, and marketing fluff. That ghost system had outlived 4 VPs, 2 CTOs, and now a hotshot manager with no socks. I wasn't bitter, I wasn't angry, I was awake. And this time, I wasn't cleaning up anyone's mess. I sipped the last of my wine and kept watching the logs roll in. Silent, steady, mine. 3 days later, I was scrolling through LinkedIn while nuking leftover pizza when Ross's face hit my feed like a car crash in slow motion. Why I let go of a legacy rock star and why that's growth, his headline. Dead serious. The photo? Him leaning against a black BMW with that smug thought leader look. Chin up, hand on his jaw, dealership logo blurred in the background like we wouldn't recognize it. He started the post with some garbage about transformative change and removing blockers for innovation. Then he name-dropped buzzwords like he was getting paid per syllable: synergy, disruption, agility. My name never showed up, but he made it real clear who the legacy rockstar was. The comments blew up, corporate types clapping like seals. His old buddies from whatever consulting hellhole he came from saying stuff like bold move, respect, and making space for the future. Love this. I didn't comment, didn't need to. Inside Keystone HQ, the post spread faster than a recall notice. Somebody dropped it into the general Slack channel with the caption, "Thoughts?" or just leaking oil. Then the memes started. First, it was Ross's face photoshopped onto a jug of synthetic motor oil. Then someone stuck him on a tire rotation reminder postcard. Rotate your boss before he wears out your patience. By lunchtime, he was an emoji, literal sticker pack. My favorite was a poll. Which leadership fluid is Ross missing today? Common sense empathy, 10W30. I watched all of it happen. Quiet. Logged in through a side admin panel that still hadn't been revoked. Not one person had touched my credentials. My old dashboards were glitching, retry logs piling up. Some jobs hit the system twice. Others sat in queue, delayed. The front-end tools were failing when they tried to bypass my back-end. They couldn't override what they didn't understand. And Ross, too busy building his personal brand to notice his transformation plan, was running face first into a wall he never saw coming. Mid-afternoon, I saw a familiar name light up in the admin console. Marco. He was the youngest on the dev team, maybe 23, still asked questions in full sentences. Always thanked me when I explained things. I figured he'd either quit in a year or run the whole department in 10. He messaged me privately. Marco, hey, not sure if you'll see this, but they literally don't know how the system works. I stared at the screen for a second, then typed, me. I know. Marco, they're pretending it's a vendor delay. Marco, Ross told people you left behind unscalable spaghetti. But it's all still running. From your repository, Marco, what is this system? I didn't answer that one. Instead, I opened the live traffic monitor. Appointments were still coming in. Oil Change Deluxe tag stacked high, routed through my original logic. The handoff protocol, still mine. The queue handler, mine. The delay buffer, yep, still running on a script I named no crash please final.php. That thing had survived 3 CEOs, and it was about to carry the weight of one man's ego straight off a cliff. But I wasn't ready to pull anything yet. Not yet. I closed Marco's chat, let the console hum in the background. The engine was warming up. I wasn't done watching them spin. I didn't even need to dig. The dealership's marketing calendar was public-facing, right there on the media site under News and Events. Bold font, branded colors, deluxe oil change, week August 12th to 18th. Trust the team that keeps your engine running. It was their biggest push of the quarter. Email blasts, paid ads, coupons, whole franchise alignment. Everything funneled through the booking system, which, like Ross, had no clue I still held the keys. The photos? Already uploaded. Some PR assistant had shot them a week before I got canned. Ross in coveralls, holding a wrench backward, smudged with fake grease. He looked like a little kid on Halloween pretending to be a mechanic. I found the whole batch sitting on an open media drive. No password. So I got to work. I swapped out the campaign assets, kept the file names exactly the same, just redirected the paths. Every scheduled post, every auto-populating email, every pre-timed ad pull now pointed to a new set of promotional images. Ross, in his fake oil-stained getup. But I made some edits. First image, him grinning next to a lifted SUV, wrench in hand. New caption in bold white font, "Trust your dipstick." Next one, close-up of his oily hand on a spark plug. Caption, "Every boss leaks eventually." Then, Ross posing proudly in front of a lifted sedan, legs spread like a superhero, fake grease on his forehead. Ask about our inflated leadership packages. My favorite was him holding a funnel like a trophy. Caption, "Built for performance." But who's checking the filter? I didn't schedule them one by one. That would have been too slow. I ran a batch script to swap the queued assets across every channel using the same legacy hooks they never unplugged. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, even their in-dealership display screens. All timed to go live at 10 a.m. sharp. Local time across all locations. I didn't sit back and sip anything this time. I watched. At 10:01, the emails started hitting inboxes. At 10:03, the first Instagram comment came in. This is a joke, right? Right? By 10:05, Twitter was on fire. Screenshots everywhere. People thought it was some edgy new marketing campaign. "Dude, this oil change place is unhinged LMAO," one post said. "Is the manager okay?" asked another. Facebook moms were tagging each other. High schoolers were remixing the captions. One dealership in Tulsa printed the flyer and actually posted it on their counter before someone realized Ross was holding the wrench upside down. By 10:17, the internal Slack channels lit up. Number marketing promo Cynthia, brand manager. Did we approve these new captions? Blake, franchise comms. I thought these were from the central team? Ty, design. I didn't make these. Who has server access? Ross showed up in number general by 10:20. No greeting, just Ross. Who authorized today's live content? Dead silence. No one responded, not even a looking into it. Just that blinking cursor underneath his name. People pretended to investigate, but they had no idea what to look for. The SaaS dashboard said everything was on schedule, and technically, they were. The pipeline was working exactly how it was built. My triggers, my reroutes, my job scheduler. The new system was never truly standalone, just a skin on top of mine. They were flying blind. Ross started replying to tweets from the corporate account, trying to explain it away. Creative refresh underway. Stay tuned. Thanks for the feedback. Updates rolling out shortly. But the damage was already viral. Someone from the Sacramento dealership posted a TikTok of Ross's flyer on their bathroom door with the voiceover. "When your oil change comes with a midlife crisis," Marco messaged me again. Marco, "They're panicking. I think Ross thinks the system got hacked." Me, "It didn't." Marco, "Yeah? That's what's terrifying." I watched the logs tick. Appointments still flowed. Coupons still scanned. But now every promo in the queue had a new face. His face, looking like a clown pretending to be in control. And I wasn't done. The war room started forming before noon. First it was Ross, pacing like a caged dog in the strategy suite. Then came the head of IT, some finance guy who looked like he hadn't blinked since breakfast, and two interns with laptops they didn't stop typing on for 3 straight hours. I watched them through the internal session viewer. My admin panel still pulled real-time desktop tiles from the security layer. Another thing they never shut off. Ross was sweating, literally, tie gone, hair messed, jacket off, tossed on a chair like it wronged him. "Run the logs again," he snapped. "Pull every IP, every login, every content push for the last 48 hours. Security was already ahead of him. Access logs were clean. All the activity came from trusted IPS, internal machines, Old admin accounts, nothing tripped the alarm. No signs of external interference, said the older guy in the corner. Whatever this was, it didn't come from outside. Ross rubbed his temples. Then how the hell did it happen? They kept digging. Eventually, someone stumbled on it. An old repo buried deep in their GitLab instance under the label Archive CAG Ops Old, with a subfolder called Scheduling Stable Do Not Touch. It hadn't been updated in years, but it was still live, still wired into production. That's when the panic started. They tried shutting it down, revoking tokens, flipping permissions, pulling credentials. Nothing worked. Scripts ran encrypted with salted keychains tied to access tables they didn't understand. The internal names I'd used? Tire Fire 01 Crankshaft Vibes Grease Monkey Live. Who Needs Docs End Me Later Final. None of it made sense to them. Nothing matched their diagrams. One of the junior techs said, I think this system never got decommissioned. It's still routing everything. Ross turned red. Full body flush. You're telling me a deprecated backend is controlling our entire promo stack? The room went silent. They kept poking. A new IT guy tried rerouting traffic to the new SaaS engine manually. Failed. The data pipeline rejected the push. Validation errors from a schema they didn't know existed. That's when my phone lit up. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. I let it ring twice, then picked up. Said nothing. Ross's voice came through like he'd been yelling for 20 minutes. What the hell did you do? I didn't answer. Don't play games. We know this was you. Your fingerprints are all over the logs. He was trying to sound in control. But the strain in his voice gave him away. He was unraveling. You think this is funny? Sabotaging the company? You think you're some kind of hero? I waited. He kept going. Ranting. Accusations, threats, fake legal jargon. Said words like prosecution and malicious interference and unauthorized system control, like he thought they'd scare me. I hung up. 5 seconds later, I watched him slam the phone on the conference table. He spun toward the head of IT, practically foaming. Well? The guy held up his hands, calm, professional. There was no breach, he said. Ross blinked. What? No breach, he repeated. No unauthorized access. No firewall trip. No injected code. This wasn't an attack. This was inherited. Ross narrowed his eyes. What does that even mean? The IT guy leaned forward. The infrastructure wasn't hijacked. It was handed off. Years ago. All of this is running on a pipeline, custom built by your former employee. Ross didn't respond. She didn't break in, the guy added. She just never left. I watched the whole thing from my living room, legs up, eating a cold Pop-Tart. Outside their glass wall panic dome, the dealership was still open. People still booking oil changes, staff pretending everything was fine. But inside, Ross was cracking like a cheap gasket under pressure. They were trapped in a system they didn't build, couldn't read, and had no idea how to shut down. And I was just getting started. By the next morning, the memes had spilled past Slack and into the wild. Some intern from the Chandler store made a TikTok of Ross yelling in the war room, spliced with a voiceover from Fast and Furious. I run this system. Don't make me prove it. It had 100,000 views by lunch. The comments were brutal. Oil change daddy has entered his villain arc. Bro got rotated and balanced emotionally. Does he know she's still logged in? I didn't post a thing. Didn't like, didn't comment, didn't share. I didn't have to. Word spread fast. A couple engineers I hadn't talked to in years started whispering in private group chats. Did Jenna really build the whole backend alone? I thought that system got retired. Yo, was she just waiting? Some people thought I was a genius. Others thought I'd committed a felony. Nobody could prove anything either way. I hadn't touched a single external system. Everything I used, I built. Everything I touched, I still technically had access to. No firewall, no breach, no theft. Just gravity. Finally catching up to the people who ignored it. By late afternoon, the internal newsletter paused circulation for audit reasons. Franchise owners were emailing screenshots to the corporate team with questions like, is this a stunt? And are we pivoting to performance art? That's when it hit the board. One of the directors forwarded Ross's LinkedIn post with the subject line, pivoting to lubricants. I saw it come through the mirrored inbox I'd created back when the execs couldn't figure out how to use their shared calendar. It still worked. Ross was unraveling. I watched him on a lobby security cam feed, barefoot, pacing in the dealership's waiting lounge. No shoes, no laptop. Just him muttering to himself while a couple customers looked on, confused. He waved at no one, then sat down and stared at the floor like it owed him answers. Nobody stepped in. Nobody helped. People avoided eye contact. Behind the glass, inside that overly polished building with motivational posters and fake plants, nobody trusted him to fix it, and nobody knew how. But me? I was calm. I sat at my kitchen table, same old hoodie, same half-dead houseplant beside me, and opened the next queue. This one was already locked, tagged, sorted. I'd prepped it months ago during downtime between vendor calls and patch requests. Just never had a reason to push it. Until now. Each asset was timed, pre-routed, fully automated. I hit the final prep key. Stage, ready. That's all it said. Not live, not launched, just ready. I closed the laptop. Let them stew a little longer. Let the dealership breathe with that kind of silence that makes everyone brace for the next thing. I didn't say a word. The system spoke loud enough on its own. The next morning at 9 a.m. sharp, I pushed it. Final wave, labeled in the code, maintenance as metaphor _campaign _final JL. No typos. That was on purpose. The first post hit Twitter. Ross kneeling beside a tire, hand on tread like he was checking wear. Rotate your team before they wear unevenly. 2 minutes later, Ross squinting at a fake dipstick. Oil isn't the only thing that needs regular evaluation. Then, Ross holding a spark plug, looking proud. Remove buildup before it starts affecting performance. Each post more layered than the last, looked corporate on the surface. But every line hit like a shot at the whole leadership structure. People lost it. The comment section exploded. This man really turned passive aggression into a promo strategy. Can't believe I'm booking a deluxe oil change just for the memes. Is this therapy or a tune-up? By noon, engagement was up 300% across all channels. No joke. Likes, shares, bookings. Everything spiked. Irony sold. Turns out people love a mess when it looks like a lesson. Inside HQ, Ross was dying in real time. He tried deleting the posts, but they rescheduled themselves. I'd built in a repost timer. If anything got pulled, it came back up 20 minutes later. New caption, same energy. He tried locking out the admin panel. Didn't work. His new credentials didn't override legacy routing. He tried calling in legal, compliance, PR, IT, all of them chasing shadows. That's when the CEO showed up. She didn't send an invite. She just walked into the strategy room mid-meeting, heels loud, face blank. "What the hell is going on?" she asked. Ross stood up too fast and knocked over a chair. "It's a system issue, an old back-end bug. We're working on isolating the—" She cut him off. "Who owns the system?" Silence. People looked around. No one answered. She asked again, slower. "Who currently owns the system controlling campaign content?" Ross swallowed hard. His jaw twitched. He opened his mouth, but someone else spoke first. It was Marco. He didn't even look up from his laptop, just muttered it like it was obvious. "Pretty sure that'd still be Jenna." The room froze. Ross blinked like he hadn't heard it right. The CEO did a slow pivot toward him. "You fired the person who controls the operational backend?" Ross stammered. She wasn't actively managing it anymore, and she held up a hand. Done. Someone handed her a tablet. She scrolled through the live campaign feed. Her expression didn't change. She just nodded once and handed it back. Outside the glass walls, people were pretending to work. But I could see the Slack alerts lighting up like a pinball machine behind them. Screenshots flying, message chains 10 replies deep before anyone even read the original post. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. This time, I checked the preview. From board@keystoneautogroup.com. Subject, consulting role opportunity. Would you consider a strategic return on your own terms? Board is aligned? I didn't answer. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, wearing yesterday's hoodie and a ratty pair of socks, watching the system hum without lifting a finger. I took a bite of toast, just bread. No butter, no jam, just warm, dry toast and total silence. And for once, that was enough. At exactly 11:59 a.m., I refreshed the scheduler one last time. Final post trigger, talking, true delay. 0000000. Execute. Now. At noon sharp, the last one dropped across every major platform. Ross, standing stiff in front of the parts counter, holding a branded Keystone wrench like a microphone. White headline stamped across the top. Service this. No context, no coupon, no offer code. Just Ross, the wrench, and that headline staring down a few 100,000 eyeballs. Internal Slack lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. Then, dark marketing freakout mark legal escalation. PR red alert. All caps, ping chains. One message read, "Stop the posts. Who is still publishing this?" Then legal chimed in, tagging 5 managers and 2 outside counsel contacts. Is this vandalism or internal sabotage? Do we have liability exposure for this messaging? Where is Ross? I checked the system logs. One last script had kicked in, just like I planned months ago, before I ever knew Ross existed. Shutdown protocol equals grease done. I clicked into the logs, every asset was purging, APIs shut down, scripts deleted, keys salted, buckets wiped. Every line of code, gone. No crash, no bang. Just a quiet cascade of intentional goodbyes. All 5 legacy servers, Crankshaft Vibes, Tirefire 01, Filter This, Troll Alt Defrost, and Ghost Shift, terminated in under 90 seconds. Then the DNS flipped. Anyone trying to access the admin panel got rerouted to a public DIY auto maintenance wiki. I mirrored from an old government domain. All open source, all legal, all above board. Nothing left behind. No trace. No breach. Just done. I closed the laptop. No applause, no dramatic music. Just me in my apartment, sunlight cutting across a dusty counter, and the faint sound of someone outside revving their Civic like it was a NASCAR tryout. I stood up, grabbed the bottle of bourbon I'd been saving, and poured a shot into my coffee mug, the same mug that said, "Keystone kicks asphalt." I took a sip, set it down, and pulled up my phone. Opened the stock app. Keystone Auto Group, KUJ, negative 8.12%. I smiled. 8% wasn't catastrophic, but it stung. Enough to trigger meetings, enough to get board members asking real questions, enough to shake loose the rot that thought a system didn't need a soul behind it. I didn't break anything. I just cleaned up and finally walked away. My phone buzzed again. New email. Direct, no copy-paste fluff this time. From CEO@KeystoneAutoGroup.com. Subject, let's talk. Jenna, the board wants to meet. They're open to terms. Please consider returning. Consulting capacity, structure to be determined. Your call. No attachments, no conditions. Just that. Like they finally understood who had built the damn machine in the first place. I set the phone on the windowsill and looked out across the street. There it was, Manny's Auto and Tire, little strip mall joint with the sun-bleached signage and hand-painted banners. Still had the same cracked pavement and crooked air hose rack. It was where I started after high school, answering phones, printing invoices, sorting spark plugs by thread count, before laptops, before code, before 12 years of building something no one else bothered to understand. Manny used to hand me broken parts and say, "Here, take it apart. You'll know it better when it's in pieces." I thought about that every time I wrote a new backend loop or tore into someone else's mess. Breaking it first made it real. The phone buzzed again. Another reply thread started forming. I didn't check it. I picked it up, typed one sentence, and hit send. Maybe, but I don't do dashboards anymore. Then I turned the damn thing off. No alerts, no dings. Just silence again. Finally earned. I walked into the kitchen, opened the lower cabinet behind the trash bin, and pulled out the little plastic box I'd shoved back there last winter. Spark plug kit, still unopened. A weird impulse buy from a clearance rack at AutoZone. I'd kept telling myself I'd mess with it when things calmed down. I cracked the lid, pulled out the first plug, held it up to the light. Dirty fingernails, old hoodie, coffee gone cold on the counter. Felt more like myself than I had in years. Clarity didn't need a meeting, didn't need an offer or a strategy deck, or a damn Slack channel full of approvals. It just needed the right ignition.